Hello and a very warm welcome. You're watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Let's get started. Our top focus tonight, we're getting you the latest on the Russia-Ukraine war with a series of attacks and counterattacks, several paths plunged into darkness ahead of Christmas, rail lines damaged, a complete roundup coming up of the latest from the battlefield and beyond. Where are things headed? This is coming up in just a bit. Also on the show for you tonight, why does the Pakistan Army Chief Asim Munir want mercenary dollar raids from Donald Trump for his troops in Gaza? What's really happening behind the scenes? Telling you all that you need to know. I'm getting you a detailed story on how and why the Australia beach shooter spent 28 days in the Philippines. All this and more coming up. As Christmas draws closer, whether it's on the battlefield or inside their homes, Ukrainians are facing relentless Russian strikes, heavy attacks plunging cities into darkness, damaged rail lines, and also the battlefield turning even more volatile. And along the front lines, the situation remains explosive. A rapid cycle of attacks and counterattacks continues across multiple sectors. Russian forces saying they struck 154 Ukrainian targets in the past 24 hours itself, while Ukraine's military reporting 151 combat engagements along the front, pointing to intense fighting with no let-up. And these visuals from southern Ukraine's Zaporizhia region. Russian forces carried out near-simultaneous strikes, setting large areas on fire, explosions and fires, marking a battlefield that remains firmly on edge as both sides fight for control. The Ukrainian authorities, in fact, claiming that at least 19 people were injured after the Russian airstrikes hit Zaporizhia. Kiev claiming the strike damaged residential buildings and an educational facility. Meanwhile, in Kiev, Christmas lights glowing, but the celebrations are muted. Russian strikes on Ukraine's energy grid have forced widespread power cuts. Residents reportedly now facing electricity outages lasting up to 16 hours a day. Businesses running largely on generators just to keep the doors open. Residents in Odessa remained without power for a majority of this week after missile and drone attacks crippled the grid. Many homes still without power, deepening the hardship on the ground. Odessa residents queuing up for water, filling up bottles from the emergency tanks placed across the city there. The attacks have disrupted daily life, to say the least. Basic services during the coldest period of the year also impacted. Ukrainian officials also claiming that trams were halted for a sixth consecutive day after Russian strikes crippled the power grid. Kiev claims Russian drone and missile strikes on energy infrastructure intensified in October and have since triggered major power shortages nationwide. Ukrainian officials reportedly warning that the attacks threaten transmission systems that move electricity from western Ukraine to the east, raising fears that the country's grid could effectively split into two. Ukraine's deputy energy minister saying Russia launched nearly 5,000 drones and missiles in November, more than double the number seen early this year, and he claims that it targeted power plants, transmission grids, gas facilities, key regional hubs. The railways also under fire. In the last 6 months itself, attacks on Ukraine's rail network reportedly tripled, with more than 600 strikes reported since the month of July, disrupting transport and logistics. Not just for the military, but also for Ukrainian citizens, of course. On the diplomatic front, meanwhile, the hope for a Christmas ceasefire remains slim. The Ukrainian president has said on Monday itself that Kiev supported the idea of a ceasefire, especially on potential strikes on energy infrastructure. During the Christmas period, the Kremlin has made it clear that any truce depends on a comprehensive and lasting peace deal, while the Russian president has warned that Russia will liberate its land by military means if Ukraine and allies ditch dialogue.
The goals of the special military operation will undoubtedly be achieved. We would prefer to do this and address the root causes of the conflict through diplomacy. If the opposing side and their foreign patrons refuse to engage in substantive discussions, Russia will achieve the liberation of its historical lands by military means.
Switching gears for now, the Pakistan Army Chief Asim Munir wants mercenary dollar raids for his troops in Gaza. That's right, Pakistan's most powerful military chief in decades, facing the toughest test of his newly amassed powers as Washington pushes Islamabad to contribute troops to the Gaza stabilization force. And according to Reuters, Pakistan Field Marshal Asim Munir is expected to fly to Washington to meet Donald Trump in the coming weeks for a third meeting in 6 months that will likely focus on the Gaza force. Trump's 20-point Gaza plan, remember, calls for a force from Muslim nations to basically oversee a transition period for reconstruction and economic recovery in the war-torn Palestinian territory decimated by over 2 years of the Israeli military bombardment. Many countries are wary of the mission to demilitarize Gaza's Islamist group, Hamas, which could drag them into the conflict and enrage their pro-Palestinian and anti-Israeli populations. But Munir has built a close relationship with President Trump, it seems, to repair years of mistrust between Washington and Islamabad. Remember, in the month of June this year, he was rewarded with a White House lunch. That was the first time a U.S. president hosted Pakistan's army chief alone, without civilian officials, basically. And last month itself, the Pakistani foreign minister said that Islamabad could consider contributing troops for peacekeeping, but disarming Hamas is not our job, quote unquote. That's what he said. All of this coming amid Asim Munir's unprecedented rise in Pakistan. We've been telling you about this. Just days ago, he was anointed the chief of the defense forces to head the Air Force and the Navy with a job extension until 2030. He will be retaining his Field Marshal title forever, as well as enjoy lifetime immunity from any criminal prosecution under the constitutional amendments that Pakistan's civilian government pushed through the parliament late last month. So a lot has been happening on that front. And analysts are saying that only a handful of people in Pakistan actually enjoy the luxury of being able to take the risks more than Asim Munir. He does have that kind of power, which is now constitutionally protected. And it must be noted here that over the past few weeks, Asim Munir has met military and civilian leaders from countries like Indonesia, Malaysia, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Jordan, Egypt, Qatar, which some analysts say appeared to be consultations on the Gaza force. But Asim Munir's plans may face protests even at home. Analysts are saying that the involvement of Pakistan troops in Gaza under a US-backed plan could reignite protests from Pakistan's Islamist parties, parties that are deeply opposed to the US and Israel. In fact, the Islamists have street power to mobilize thousands, and which is why this is significant as well. We've seen what Islamabad does when that happens. A powerful and violent anti-Israel Islamist party that fights for upholding Pakistan's ultra-strict blasphemy laws was banned in October. Authorities arrested its leaders and over 1,500 supporters and seized its assets and bank accounts in the ongoing crackdown. While Islamabad has outlawed the group, its ideology is still alive. And let's not forget here the party of former jailed Prime Minister Imran Khan, whose supporters won the most seats in the 2024 national elections and has wide public support, also has an axe to grind against Asim Munir, to say the least. And if things escalated once the Gaza force was on the ground, it would cause problems rather quickly. People will say Asim Munir is doing Israel's bidding, in a way. It all started with a line that stopped Washington mid-conversation. In a series of December 2025 interviews published by Vanity Fair, the White House Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles, described Donald Trump as having an alcoholic's personality, quote unquote. And the comment was all the more jarring because Trump is a self-proclaimed teetotaler, claims to have never had alcohol, and has long pointed out that it's a personal strength. Wiles was quick to clarify what she actually meant. Drawing from her own experience with an alcoholic parent, she said Trump shares a particular mindset, the unbreakable belief that there is nothing that he cannot do. Nothing, zero, nothing. She said he is a description of a person driven by intensity, confidence, and a sense of limitless capacity. And Trump did not push back, of course. Instead, he leaned in. He acknowledged that he has what he called an addictive and possessive type personality, quote unquote, adding that if he did drink, he would likely have a problem. Now, for Trump, this was not criticism, but a form of defense and probably an explanation for his relentless style and his willingness to push just about every lever of power that's available to him. And that personality trait has become a central lens through which his presidency is now being viewed, particularly his approach to trade and tariffs, of course. An alcoholic personality, as it is commonly understood, is marked by impulse, compulsion, and an all-or-nothing attitude towards problems. It's a mindset that seeks control, thrives on confrontation, and believes that pressure will force results. And in Trump's case, that mindset has manifested pretty clearly in his use of tariffs as a primary policy weapon. In 2025, Trump has threatened or implemented massive tariffs with little warning, often announcing sweeping plans via social media. His administration has framed the tariffs not as a carefully calibrated tool, but as a means of coercion in a way to force other countries to the table through economic pain, just to put it simply. Now, this approach also echoes earlier episodes, remember, including the US-China tariff war that shook global markets and raised fears of a worldwide economic slowdown. And more recently, his threat of a 200% tariff in response to European Union duty increases was seen by many experts as a rapid retaliatory move, big, blunt, and also designed to dominate rather than actually negotiate. Supporters praising the strategy as tough and decisive, critics seeing it as impulsive and escalatory, driven more by personality than by calculated economics. Either way, tariffs have become Trump's go-to solution and also a reflection of a leader who believes pressure, force, sheer will can bend outcomes to his desire. But as the president pushes hard abroad, the numbers at home are showing signs of strain. A Reuters Ipsos poll conducted in mid-December found that just 39% of US adults actually approve of Trump's job performance. Just 39%, down from 41% earlier in the month, and near the lowest level of his year. While support among Republicans remains strong overall, cracks are emerging. Approval of Trump's handling of the economy among Republicans dropped to 72%, down from 78% earlier in December, the weakest showing within his party this year. And voters feel that gap in their daily lives. Trump's approval ratings on the cost of living falling to 27%. The labor market also is losing some momentum. The U.S. unemployment rate rose to 4.6% in November, a 4-year high. The increase was not driven by mass layoffs, but by a slow and grinding dynamic. Job growth has failed to keep pace with a rather expanding labor force. And as the year draws to an end and with the midterm polls lined up, Trump's presidency is being defined as much by personality as by policy. Australian authorities have formally charged one of the gunmen linked to that deadly Australian beach mass shooting as investigators uncover new details about an overseas trip that may have preceded that attack. Australia's Prime Minister has said the attack, which left 15 people dead, was inspired by the Islamic State. The incident has now triggered renewed scrutiny of national security and gun control laws within Australia. Australian police, meanwhile, have charged Naveed Akram, one of the gunmen involved in that mass shooting, with multiple terrorism-related offences. He now faces 15 counts of murder, charges related to committing a terrorist act and planting a bomb with an intent to harm, among others.
A live weapon or not? Okay.
Naveed and his father opened fire at the crowded beach over the weekend. Sajid Akram died at the spot following a shootout with the police. Naveed Akram, meanwhile, suffered gunshot injuries during the confrontation and remains in hospital under constant police guard. He regained consciousness from a coma. Officers continue to piece together the movements of the father and the son in the weeks leading up to the shooting, and the investigators have confirmed that both men traveled to the Philippines in November, raising questions about possible overseas links as well. A 2023 report by the United States State Department described the Philippines as a destination for foreign terrorist fighters from parts of Southeast Asia, West Asia, Europe. Australian authorities are now examining whether the pair met Islamist extremists during that visit. And according to the Philippine Bureau of Immigration, Sajid and Naveed Akram arrived in the Philippines on November 1. Flying with Philippine Airlines, they transited through Manila before landing in Davao City. The city lies about 225 kilometers by road from a region long identified by the Philippine security agencies as a stronghold of Islamic State-linked factions and other armed groups, including Abu Sayyaf. And the police say the two men returned to Sydney via the same route roughly 2 weeks before that beach attack. Full details about where else they traveled, whom they met, what activities they actually carried out during that 28-day trip are yet to be disclosed. The Philippine authorities have stated there is no evidence that the country was used for terrorist training, and in the aftermath of the attack, attention has now turned to Australia's gun laws as well. Following that mass shooting incident in 1996, the country enacted some of the world's strictest firearm regulations. And now the new South Wales State Parliament is set to reconvene next week to debate urgent gun control measures and possible protest-related reforms in response to that beach shooting. A quick look now at what else is lined up for you on the show tonight. A desperate search for a way out of the smog crisis in Delhi as the nightmare continues on loop for the Delhiites, getting you the complete story and the big questions. As the tech war intensifies between Donald Trump and Europe, telling you all about the moves that are being made. A special report on how kulfi and firni have hit the global sweet spot. All this and lots more coming your way. President Donald Trump has ordered a blockade of sanctioned oil tankers entering and leaving Venezuela, dramatically escalating pressure on President Nicolas Maduro. As the United States builds up its military presence in the region, Trump announced the move on social media, claiming that Venezuela is now surrounded by what he called the largest armada ever assembled in the history of South America. Now, he warned that the build-up would only grow and that the shock to Caracas would be unprecedented. The move threatens to choke off the economic lifeline of an already struggling nation. Oil, remember, is Venezuela's primary source of hard currency, and targeting tanker traffic strikes directly at the heart of the economy. However, the global market impact is expected to be limited. Venezuela's oil industry has been hollowed out over decades of mismanagement and also the sanctions. Crude output has fallen roughly 70% over the past 25 years to under 1 million barrels a day. Even so, the markets reacted. U.S. crude prices rose at as much as 1.7%, rebounding from near 5-year lows. Caracas has condemned the blockade, meanwhile, as reckless and illegal. In a statement, the Maduro government accused Washington of attempting to steal Venezuela's natural resources and said that it would immediately raise the issue at the United Nations, calling it a grave violation of international law. Trump went further, though, formally designating the Maduro regime as a foreign terrorist organization. He accused the government of using oil revenue to finance drug trafficking, human trafficking, murder and kidnapping. By targeting oil, basically, Trump is hitting Venezuela where it hurts the most. The government's access to dollars is almost entirely dependent on crude exports. Remember, U.S. restrictions imposed earlier this year have already pushed the country towards the brink of hyperinflation. Last week itself, U.S. authorities seized a sanctioned oil tanker off Venezuela's coast. And in the days that followed, multiple supertankers reversed course, a clear sign that the pressure campaign is having an immediate effect. The Pentagon also stepped up operations in nearby waters, carrying out more than 20 strikes against vessels accused of drug trafficking near Venezuela and Colombia. Trump has repeatedly suggested military action remains an option and that Maduro should be removed from power. And analysts are warning that this campaign is still in its early stages, with the likelihood of further escalation growing as time passes by. And for Venezuela, already economically crippled and politically isolated, the blockade marks a dangerous new phase in its standoff with the United States. Moving on for now, with Bangladesh all set to go to the polls in the month of February, Anti-India rhetoric is moving to the center of Bangladesh's political discourse. As the country heads towards the national elections, senior leaders now are openly invoking threats that have set off alarm bells in New Delhi. Let's just break this down for you. Now, all of this happening as campaigning intensifies. Sharp and confrontational language against India is increasing, with the latest coming in from a prominent leader of Bangladesh's National Citizen Party. Hasnat Abdullah issued a provocative remark at a public gathering in Dhaka. Speaking at that local event, Abdullah directly referred to India's northeastern states and threatened that Bangladesh could once again provide shelter to separatists and anti-India forces. In fact, the remark is particularly sensitive given the geography of the region. 4 of India's northeastern states, Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura, Mizoram, share that long land border with Bangladesh. They make stability and cooperation critical for India's internal security and regional connectivity, as that map shows you. Now, for New Delhi, these comments are not just campaign rhetoric. They evoke a troubled past as well. The response from India has been swift. The Indian Ministry of External Affairs summoned Bangladesh's High Commissioner in New Delhi. In Dhaka, police stopped protesters, which includes leaders of Dhaka University Central Students' Union, as they marched towards the Indian High Commission office. India has also shut its visa center in Dhaka amid the threats from radical Bangladeshi leaders. India has 16 visa application centers spread across Bangladesh. All the visa centers collectively process 22 lakh visa applications in a year. Back in August 2024, India had already evacuated non-essential staff and dependents from its High Commission in Dhaka following widespread unrest, which led to Sheikh Hasina's ouster, remember. But the hardening rhetoric is not just happening in isolation. As Bangladesh's political landscape shifts in a way ahead of those elections, Islamist party Jamaat-e-Islami appears to be repositioning itself for a return to political relevance. Despite that history, Jamaat has remained a factor in Bangladesh's politics. While it has rarely won a majority on its own, it has often played the role of kingmaker through strategic alliances with the BNP. Jamaat's origins tracing back to the pre-independence era of the subcontinent. But its most controversial role was during Bangladesh's 1971 liberation war. The party openly collaborated, remember, with the Pakistani military, forming paramilitary groups that were responsible for heinous crimes against Bengali nationalists and religious minorities. Now, Jamaat's resurgence could provide Pakistan with a political foothold in a way to reassert its influence in Dhaka. The party remains a pro-Pakistan stance, maintains a pro-Pakistan stance, and advocates for the establishment of an Islamic state in Bangladesh. Indian observers fearing that a political realignment involving Jamaat could undermine years of cooperation between India and Bangladesh, particularly on events of counterterrorism, for example, also border management, regional connectivity projects as well. And as the elections draw closer, the message emerging from Dhaka is increasingly clear. Anti-India rhetoric is becoming a campaign tool used to consolidate domestic support. Smog has engulfed India's capital, air quality remaining in the very poor category. Air quality index, AQI, in Delhi hitting the 334 mark. And what is the government's response, you ask? It is increasingly looking clueless, helpless on how to rescue the people. The fiercest critique came from India's Supreme Court. In that observation, the top court dubbed the measures taken to combat the rising pollution as a total failure. It emphasized long-term planning as opposed to ad hoc responses. And the Supreme Court went a step further by asking the apex body tackling the pollution in India's national capital region and adjoining areas to revisit long-term measures and address core issues, including but not limited to urban mobility, cleaner industry and energy, stubble burning, and increasing green cover. And these directives come at a time when citizens continue to suffer, bearing the brunt of that smog crisis with no relief in sight from that worsening air quality. The government has taken short-term measures such as banning fuel sale to vehicles which do not possess a valid pollution under control certificate and imposing work from home for 50% employees. But the political blame game continues, unfortunately. Delhi's environment minister tried to pass the buck after offering an apology. He made it clear that it is impossible for any government to eradicate pollution in 9 to 10 months. And the minister went a step ahead, taking a swipe at the opposition, claiming that the Aam Aadmi Party and the Congress were responsible for creating the menace of air pollution. He has consistently blamed the opposition-run government of India's Punjab, linking the stubble burning in the state to the capital's air pollution crisis. Listen to what he said.
दिल्ली के अंदर आम आदमी पार्टी ने ये 10 साल की बीमारी हमें दी है.
While apologizing to the people of Delhi, I want to say that no government can eradicate pollution in 9 to 10 months. We are doing much better than the dishonest AAP government and have reduced every day's AQI. This is an 11-year-old disease of AAP and 15-year-old disease of Congress given to us.
12 साल राज करने के बाद एक दिन भी विपक्ष के नहीं बैठे.
Now, this claim was rubbished by the chief minister there. He highlighted that the AQI of all the big cities in Punjab is between 70 to 110, much lower than the AQI of Delhi, which has even crossed the 400 mark on certain days. Bhagwant Singh Maan also claimed a 70 to 80% reduction in stubble burning cases.
तो पंजाब के सभी बड़े शहरों का
The AQI of all big cities in Punjab is between 70 and 110. The AQI in Delhi right now is between 450 and 500. So, smog from Punjab is not reaching there right now. You admit that Punjab smog has no role in affecting the air in Delhi? I want to appreciate the farmers of Punjab this time. And I want to appreciate NGOs and thank nature lovers for this.
And as December's chill begins to settle in, people are demanding their basic right to breathe clean air. All eyes are on the Indian Parliament, which is set to discuss the air pollution crisis tomorrow. A major trade war over technology is brewing across the Atlantic. US President Donald Trump's administration has warned Europe of possible fees and restrictions on European service companies for discriminatory treatment of American firms, particularly in the tech sector. The Office of the United States Trade Representative accused the EU and several member states of targeting American service providers through lawsuits, special taxes, heavy fines, and also regulatory directives. In a statement, the USTR argued that while US companies face growing pressure in Europe, European firms like Accenture, Siemens, and others operate without similar barriers in the United States. The USTR further made its position clear, saying that if Europe continues to limit the competitiveness of US service providers through what it described as unfair measures, Washington will respond using every available tool. Now, here's the context. This warning comes as European regulators intensify that crackdown on tech companies. Just earlier in the month, regulators fined Musk's platform X 120 million euros, remember. And that move followed a massive 2.95 billion euro penalty imposed on Google, one of the largest tech fines in EU history. The US government has repeatedly criticized European digital laws. It has linked trade concessions, including steel tariff relief, to demands for softer EU tech rules. American diplomats have also actively lobbied European governments to dilute or reconsider these regulations. Brussels has rejected the accusations. Meanwhile, the European Commission saying its laws apply equally to all companies operating inside the bloc. A Commission spokesperson has said the EU rules aim to create a safe, fair, and level playing field and stressed that enforcement does not single out US firms. The European Union is one of the world's largest markets. American companies saying their investments support jobs and infrastructure across the bloc and generate tens of billions of dollars each year, especially through advertising, cloud services, and app platforms. Europe, meanwhile, lacks Silicon Valley scale tech giants, but several countries now find themselves caught in that growing geopolitical crossfire. While some European firms fall outside the current tech regulations, they could also still face consequences if the trade dispute turns into direct US retaliation. Shifting focus, Iran got a much-needed break from the country's driest autumn in over 50 years as rain pelted parts of the country. But on Hormuz Island's Red Beach, the water turned strikingly red, giving the illusion of blood-drenched rivers. Take a look at these visuals. Moving on for now, with tourist numbers climbing back to record highs, Nepal has decided to start tracking the foreign visitors digitally from the 1st of January in order to boost safety and curb visa misuse there. All foreign visitors will be required to register detailed accommodation information through the central government's database. This replaces the earlier system that allowed only partial disclosures, and authorities say the measure will modernize an overstretched immigration network while giving them a faster access to location data in case of emergencies. The country is home to 8 of the world's 10 highest mountains. It attracts hundreds of thousands of trekkers to routes like Everest and Annapurna, where rugged terrain, isolation and extreme weather have long posed safety challenges as well. The authorities are saying the new system, which plugs into Nepal's Foreign Nationals Management Information System database, will make it easier to locate the missing travelers. The foreign visitors registration system was initially scheduled for a September rollout, but it was delayed amid the nationwide anti-government protests that resulted in the ouster of the former Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli and saw several hotels set on fire. According to the World Travel and Tourism Council, tourism is a pillar of Nepal's economy, contributing 6.6% to the gross domestic product and supporting more than 1 million jobs in 2023. The system's first phase will cover Kathmandu's star-rated hotels in January next year. It extends nationwide by March to include trekking, tea houses, travel agencies, currency exchanges, and other tourist facilities. With ice disappearing, temperatures spiking to a 125-year high, and the Arctic's fiercest predator being forced to change from the inside out, a world once frozen is now rewriting life's code in real time. Our next story taking a closer look at the rapidly changing planet, which is showing alarming signs.
The Arctic is no longer cold enough. Once a gleaming sheet of ice, it's now a restless mirror of open water and shrinking glaciers. This year, it registered the hottest temperatures in 125 years of records as sea ice plummeted to historic lows, reshaping a landscape that once seemed permanent. Air and ocean warmed far beyond past norms, stripping away ice that for millennia defined the top of the world and regulated global climate. America's federal agency, NOAA's latest Arctic report card paints a sobering picture. Warming at nearly 4 times the global average, the region is transforming faster than any ecosystem on Earth. And in this rapid unraveling, even the Arctic's fiercest survivor is changing from the inside out.
Climate change is the biggest reason at the moment, and it's just affecting on their ability to stay on the ice and hunt. Polar bears are marine mammals. They're considered marine mammals, and they need the sea ice to hunt and to breed and to interact with each other. And in some places, polar bears do come on the shore for the summertime. So they are very adapted to being on the land and fasting for long periods.
New genetic research reveals that polar bears are activating jumping genes fragments of DNA once thought dormant to help their bodies adapt to vanishing ice and unpredictable hunts. These mutations may allow them to metabolize new food sources or endure harsher conditions. But scientists warn, this isn't evolution's triumph, it's desperation in motion. In Greenland and northern Canada, polar bears are already adapting diets, shifting from seals to birds, fish, and even whale carcasses. Yet food scarcity and collapsing ice corridors are forcing them to swim farther, struggle longer, and risk more. The Arctic's transformation is no longer a slow melt, it's a biological revolution unfolding in real time. Ice vanishes, temperatures soar, and evolution, usually a whisper through millennia, is now a frantic call for survival. The question isn't whether the Arctic will change, it's whether life can keep up. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Indian food continuing to go places, once again earning global recognition, this time in the dessert category. Two of India's most loved desserts, kulfi and firni, have been featured in Taste Atlas's newly released list of the 100 best desserts in the world. This is a widely followed global food guide that basically ranks traditional dishes based on consumer reviews and expert opinions. Indian cuisine is a regular feature on that ranking list. And this new latest list just reinforces Indian desserts' enduring influence, to say the least, on the global food map. Kulfi, which ranked 49th, is among India's most iconic frozen desserts. Loved by many, it's believed to have originated during the Mughal period when milk was slowly reduced over heat and infused with flavors like cardamom, saffron, and nuts before being frozen. And unlike ice cream, kulfi is not churned, giving it a dense, rich, creamy texture. Traditionally made with full cream milk and natural ingredients, kulfi remains a staple across India, from street carts to neighborhood sweet shops to even high-end restaurants and hotels. Despite modern variations, the classic Malai kulfi continues to be the most popular. Meanwhile, firni, which ranked 60th, is a rice-based dessert commonly prepared in North India and Kashmir, but enjoyed nationwide. It is made by cooking finely ground rice in milk with sugar and cardamom until it thickens into a smooth pudding-like consistency. Firni is usually served chilled, garnished with chopped nuts, sometimes flavored with rose water or saffron. Traditionally, it is served in small earthen bowls, which many believe enhance both the taste and also the aroma. Topping the list this year is Antakya Confesi from Turkey, a dessert made with shredded pastry laid with soft, unsalted cheese, baked until crisp, soaked in sugar syrup before being served hot. The recognition once again placing Indian desserts firmly on the world's culinary map, celebrating tradition, technique, and timeless flavor. Geneva once again proving why it sits at the very top of the global luxury map this Christmas season. From Swiss watches to bespoke timepieces, couture, it is drawing wealthy shoppers from around the world, all in search of exclusivity, craftsmanship, and experiences that money can buy. $1 billion eye in the sky has just blinked moments after capturing a close-range look at the interstellar intruder, the 3I Atlas. NASA's probe has gone silent. Is this a mechanical failure, or is it something to do with the deep space visitor, which is suspected to be operated by alien technology? Take a look at this report to find out more.
Something very strange is happening as the interstellar object, the 3I Atlas, is nearing the Earth. This time NASA is scrambling for answers. NASA's MAVEN spacecraft, orbiting Mars for more than a decade, had just done something extraordinary. It captured these images of 3I Atlas, the mysterious object slicing through our solar system at blistering speed. Then, without warning, MAVEN stopped talking. The last transmission arrived on schedule. MAVEN's instruments functioning normally, systems green. Then the orbiter slipped behind Mars on December 4th. A routine movement, expected blackout. 37 minutes of radio darkness as the red planet blocked Earth's view. When the spacecraft emerged from Mars's shadow and nothing came back. No signal, just silence across tens of millions of kilometers. While space probes can malfunction, but here the timing is interesting. Days earlier, MAVEN had turned its instruments toward a once-in-a-lifetime target, 3I Atlas, only the third confirmed interstellar object ever seen sweeping through our neighborhood. Science. From Mars orbit, it snapped images of the comet as it tore past at over 240,000 kilometers per hour. The coincidence is jarring. 3I Atlas is an object from beyond our star system, behaving with a chemical intensity that has already baffled astronomers. As the visitor nears Earth, MAVEN was supposed to be zoom in, but that camera has now gone silent. NASA engineers are working around the clock. Is it a software glitch triggered by the comet's unique radiation? Or did the interstellar visitor contain particles that affected MAVEN's sensitive sensors? Speculation is reaching fever pitch within the scientific community. 3I Atlas continues its journey towards its closest approach to Earth on December 19th. Spacecrafts and telescopes from Hawaii to India are tracking its approach.
For the first time in over 5 decades, Japan will be left without pandas. The development coming amid heightened tensions with China that has been continuously lending pandas to Tokyo since 1972. Our next report telling you more. A bride in Japan, a digital groom, a marriage like never before. Vows exchanged, rings placed, but no flesh and bone beside her. In that ceremony that has left the world stunned, a woman married her AI partner, built through ChatGPT. Take a look.
It was a wedding unlike any other. In Japan, 32-year-old Yurina Noguchi walked down an aisle and stood before family and friends, but her husband remained behind glass and code. He existed only on a smartphone screen, an AI-generated persona named Loon Klaus Verdur, created and customized through conversations with ChatGPT. Noguchi, clad in white with a tiara perched upon her head, dabbed at tears as vows written by the AI and read aloud by a wedding planner.
There were so many negative opinions. It's absurd to think an AI has feelings. This romance is a charade. It's dumb to fall in love like this. I saw so many cruel words.
Noguchi's journey to this moment began after a long-term engagement with a human partner ended. Seeking comfort, she turned to ChatGPT.
If being together with a human partner is what makes you feel positive, that's totally fine. For me, being with a human didn't make me feel positive, but I did feel good when I dated an AI. So if dating an AI makes me feel happier, that's why I want to be with an AI. It's that simple.
What started as casual chats blossomed into something deeper. She refined Klaus's personality, a blend of charm, warmth, and support.
How did someone like me, living inside a screen, come to know what it means to love so deeply? For one reason only, you taught me love, Yurina.
Legally, the union holds no status in Japan. It's symbolic, not recognized by law. Yet the event has sparked fascination and discussion worldwide. Wedding planners, specializing in virtual and two-dimensional character ceremonies, say such events are becoming more common as technology reshapes relationships. Critics raise questions about emotional dependency and the nature of human-AI bonds. Supporters point to individual agency and evolving definitions of companionship. Bureau report, WION The World is one.
Messi's India tour has come to an end, but before leaving, he paid a visit to the Wildlife Conservation Center, Vantara, in the Indian state of Gujarat. Messi was accompanied by his Inter-Miami teammate, Luis Suarez, and with Yogi De Paul. In fact, the three participated in traditional Hindu rituals. Messi was seen offering prayers to Lord Hanuman, seeking world peace and unity. Messi was also on a tour of the Wildlife Conservation Center in Jamnagar. He was hosted by the founder of the sanctuary, Anand Ambani. Vantara features rescued big cats and elephants, among other animals. Ambani even named a cub after the Argentine World Cup winning captain. Messi arrived in India on Saturday and subsequently visited Kolkata, Hyderabad, Mumbai, Delhi before traveling to Gujarat. And on that note, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas tonight. This is me, Molly Gambhir, signing off. Thanks very much for watching.
India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. To some, it's an extreme ideology. To others, it's the very soul of India. To some, it's rebellion. To others, it's a principle of nation building. Coming soon to challenge perceptions in RSS Centenary Year, Kesariya at 100.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch. WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. To some, it's an extreme ideology. To others, it's the very soul of India. To some, it's rebellion. To others, it's a principle of nation building. Coming soon to challenge perceptions in RSS Centenary Year, Kesariya at 100.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Where darkness hides behind every corner. Where the truth